Hi, I'm Serena, and this is my co-host, Mike, and you're listening to Diapers and Deployments, Who's Got It Worse? The podcast that talks about all things military, the good, the bad, and the oh shit.
On today's episode, we talk about scammers on LinkedIn, always having moving straps on hand, and Mike's first pedicure. We will also talk to Sharon Lynn Unger, the CEO and president of Veterans Village of Northeast Florida.
This podcast is supported by Skill Mill Corporation, helping veterans transition to the civilian workspace.
All right, Serena. So everyone knows you're home now. The job hunt is on. So what's going on with you?
We are like T-minus 2 weeks to retirement, official retirement. So I keep saying it's T-minus 2 weeks to our last active duty paycheck. Pressure is on.
Yeah, that's where the rubber meets the road, when the pay stops.
Yeah, right. But things are going good. It's kind of weird. It's almost like the second he went on terminal leave, the opportunities started coming up, like with phone calls and interviews and things like that. So that's a positive. I have to say the first interview he did, he was really nervous about because it's his first interview ever. Because
right?
he went from,
just that way.
Yeah, he went from a teenager working in fast food restaurants, like where we met at Zarda Barbecue, where we met in the drive-thru and fell in love.
So romantic.
Ago. Yes. But he had his first real interview as an adult male for a company. You know, he's like, oh, I've done interviews with the military. And so I can do this, but he was nervous. But he did say once it was all over, he was like, that felt so good to get it over with. And now any other interview I have, I know what to expect. Ready. And yeah, he's ready to do it. It's a fun time. I mean, it's a scary time. It's a fun time, you know, because he's got all these options, you know, where he can be like, I don't know, is this what's the pay going to be? Am I going to like it? Do I take this one where it's going to be maybe a little less pay, but I'll be happy? And so that's kind of cool that we have the option, because in the Navy, it don't matter what you want to do. You're going to do it.
Right. Here's your options. Pack your shit. You're going to the next duty station.
Exactly.
Or get out.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. And I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks and what are going to happen to our family. But also the scam calls that he has gotten from LinkedIn from other businesses is wild. It's almost like the pyramid scheme of businesses are like reaching out to him, like the pyramid.
What do you mean?
Like he got a call about this company that's like, do you want to make $5 million in 1 week? You know, like,
yes,
but it's like but it's a real person. Like, oh, I found your resume on LinkedIn and I think you'd be great for this job. And it's basically like, if you make this much money, you know, like you go to these things and sell this product. And Brandon's like, what in the world? And he's gotten several of those. I never expected that, to be honest, because at first, the first call I got, I was like, wow, these people are calling you. That's so awesome. And then after he like listened to the first part of their like speech, he's like, no, this is like a scam.
Honey, we're going to be rich. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I didn't expect that at all.
That, you know, last week I was doing some experimenting with job searches, you know, because in order for Skill Mill to get better, it takes research, right?
Yeah.
And I looked up a couple of driving jobs because I have a friend who, you know, wants to be a driver. Long story. In the end, I have gotten job offers to be a driver in my local area, right? The internet's watching. They're watching everything you do.
For sure.
Walmart, Amazon. Like I have gotten no less than 50 things in my email about wanting me to be a driver.
And do you even have like licenses to drive those contracts?
I don't have no license.
Ah, man. You're right. The internet's always watching every search you do. Everything you talk about with your Alexa listening in the background.
She's scary.
She is scary.
Hey, I love her.
Yeah.
She's made me lazy. I want to tell you about my week because it sucked. My wife, you know, we've been doing this remodel thing, painting, and I'm getting my office done, the painting, that stuff I'm okay with, but she's been buying furniture and we just ordered a new bedroom set and all that. But she says, hey, I found a piece of furniture I really want. It's in Biloxi. And I was like, okay, it's an hour and 45-minute drive, but the Shed barbecue is that way.
Okay.
And it's my favorite barbecue place off of I-10. So I'm like, well,
I mean, we're not going to talk barbecue because I'm from Kansas City and everybody knows it's the best barbecue. So it's not
I've been to Kansas City. So I don't know. Well, anyway.
You eat barbecue with my family. Come on.
Jack's, right?
Jack Stack, Fiorella's. Yeah.
It was awesome. But you know, I was like, okay, we'll go. And they said, well, it's heavy. And I'm thinking, I'm pretty
Did you
strong.
fit that in your Tesla?
No. But I borrowed my neighbor's trailer because I have the F-250 is kind of raised up and I'm not picking anything up and putting it in the back of that truck if it's heavy. And thank God I borrowed the trailer, but we go that way and we get in there and the lady looks at us like, where's all your help? It's me and my wife. And I was like, well, let me grab this. She goes, my husband will be home later. He can help you. And I went to pick it up and I was like, oh my God. Me and Regina went out and bought straps, like the moving straps and everything.
Yeah.
Another hour and a half of hunting for, things.
Yeah.
Then her husband came back. Here's what they didn't tell us. It weighed over 1,000 pounds.
That was not included in the description.
It was not. I think it should have been.
That's a need. That's a need to know.
Well, it was hell. My arms were bruised. It was like watching circus. I said, we should have filmed us trying to get that thing through the door. And none of us are small people. Me and that guy, and then he got trapped in the weeds. And I was like, if someone's watching this, they're laughing their ass off at us trying to wrangle this piece of furniture.
So what'd you do when you got it home?
I called some strong friends.
I was about to say, oh, is it still sitting outside on the trailer?
No, I got it in that night. Her furniture shopping's killing me, Serena.
I'm probably going to give Brandon heart failure when we eventually get a house, because our furniture is all 20 years old. It's all stuff we got when we got married, and I'm ready for some new stuff.
Well, that's what, all the moving around in the military, we didn't want to buy new stuff because they beat it up. No matter how careful they are or what happens, something always breaks. It's just, it is the way it is. But
absolutely,
and she does want nice furniture now. So
yeah, your kids are older and we want new stuff.
Used stuff too, because this piece of, is it called a credenza or buffet? I don't know. Those big words confuse me, Serena.
Credenza, buffet, armoire.
But it was about $7,000 when it was new, and she paid $700 for it. And I thought, well, maybe we'll get there and look at it, and it will be in bad shape. But no, it looks new.
Yeah.
So Facebook Marketplace, and oh my God! But if she picks out any more furniture this week, I'm gonna have to hire somebody because I'm tired of moving stuff.
Well, now you need to ask how much it weighs.
I never thought I'd have to ask that.
Well, you know what though? Like the quality, obviously, if it's good quality stuff, it's gonna be heavy as hell.
That's true. If it was IKEA, I could have packed it out to the truck by myself.
Yeah, throw it over your shoulder.
Last week we talked about Guam. And it reminded me of a story about Diego Garcia. Now, for the listeners, if you don't know much about Diego Garcia, it's an island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's just really a military island. You can't really go there unless you're, part of the mission kind of place. So if you're thinking about visiting there, that's not going to happen. But when you get there, everything's kind of free. I say kind of, but haircuts, stuff like that, because you're trapped there. Movies. I mean, they do a great job. They have a band 5 nights a week at different places.
Do they have any local people? I mean, I know my husband's been there a million times, but do they have any locals on Diego Garcia? Or just military?
Well, they do, because people who run the base kind of, I met one guy who does the fishing charters out of there. He'd been there 20 years and
oh, wow.
Yeah, he visits his family twice a year. I think he was from the Philippines.
Oh,
so yeah, lots of locals. But anyway, I get there and I go to get my hair cut, right? And I'm sitting there and this lady's like, oh, we'll do your nails and toes and the facial stuff. I'm like, nah, I don't want any of that crap. I just want a haircut. And she was like, oh, you're the only one here. Please, please, please. And I'm like, I've never done this. Go for it. All of a sudden, Serena, I got someone on my left hand, someone on my right hand. I got someone putting something on my face, like that cream stuff you girls use. I don't use any of that stuff.
Moisturizer.
Right? And they're all cute, by the way, right? And then out walks this girl with big, large hands, and she grabs my feet, and I'm like, "Oh God, what's happening?" So
she yanked your ass right out of that chair.
Yeah, she was a big girl. So the guy that's doing my feet, is down there, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this to be over. I didn't like any of this, but no one was there to witness it, right? So then I go get my buddy. And I'm like, hey, you can go down here and they'll cut your hair and do all this stuff for free. And he goes, oh, yeah. So I'll go down there with you. Of course, I took my camera. So as he's getting all that stuff done to him, I start taking pictures, right? And he's got his eyes closed, of course, because they got that stuff on his eyes. And then I shared all those pictures with everybody. Was that wrong?
No. That's not wrong at all.
But, normally I don't tell people that ever happened to me, but it happened to him. I got proof.
That's funny. I look at Facebook today and look at all these pictures and stuff that people post. And I think to myself, man, I'm so glad that Facebook was not a thing when I was younger, because the blackmail would have been atrocious.
Oh my gosh. Me and my wife talk about that all the time. I can't imagine. And it's hard too for these, I have two teenage girls, but one of them just turned 22, but they have to be careful about everything they do. Any picture, what they have to go through. But you're right. If we would have had Facebook back when I was growing up, I'm pretty sure. Well, I don't want to say I'd probably be in jail. Or
I was going to say, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. I wouldn't have a job.
Yeah. Like, oh my God. Hey, but thank God it wasn't.
100%.
My daughter did ask me something about me and Mom. She's like, did you guys ever text each other in class? And we that's when I just looked at her and it's like, let's sit down. Let's talk about history.
Yeah.
Yeah. To them, our kids, just the technology to them is just normal.
Yeah, of course. I mean, my kids say, like, even when I tell them I didn't have a cell phone, I had a cell phone in my car, but it was not something that you used to talk to people with. It was like an emergency thing that sat in my glove box.
Because it costs a fortune.
Right. And so I had it when I started driving when I was like 17 or 18. My parents got it and it just sat in my car. Like you communicated with your friends on the house phone. Like that's how you talk to your friends. And then when Brandon joined the Navy, he put me on his cell phone plan. And that's when I got like a real cell phone that could like text and like do all those things. But that was only 20 years ago. And my kids act like it was 100 years ago and like to remind me how old I am.
I don't even like to talk to my family on the phone unless I can see them.
Yeah.
I mean, how far we've come, or in some cases we've gone backwards, but that's a different story.
Totally different story. But no, I used to think that as a kid, like, I wish I could just see this person when I talk to them. And now that is really the way to talk.
It is the way to talk. I on the phone, if it's something quick, but my family, I like to do the FaceTime and it makes you feel more connected.
Right. For sure.
I like seeing my mom and seeing how she's doing because before, when you were younger and you wouldn't see someone for a while and then you go see them, you're like, whoo, they've gotten old. That's what they said about you and you said about them, right?
Yeah, I experience that now coming home after so long. With COVID kept us away. So I've seen my grandparents made me feel like that.
People my age, when I see them, I mean, they've aged. I mean, I'm not sure I have. Right. I look the same.
Oh, strapping young lad you are.
Well, it sounds like we both had a pretty good week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it sounds like I'm not furniture shopping anymore.
No, but I guess I know who I need to call when I start furniture shopping.
Oh God, my wife will help you shop, girl. All right, so Serena, last week we had Charlene on and she said she wanted to bring someone back and it looks like she's back with her. Is this your buddy, your friend, your boss, Charlene? Who's this?
No, she is not the boss of me. She is my buddy.
You are. She said she is.
I am. So we let her get away with it.
Yeah, they put a name on my card, HBIC. So
I'm sure you know what that stands for.
We do.
I do.
Yeah.
But yes, this is my pal, Sharon Lynn Unger. She is the CEO and founder of the Veterans Village of Northeast Florida.
Welcome back to the show, Charlene. Welcome to the show, Sharon. So Sharon, why don't you take the stage now and tell us about Veterans Village of Northeast Florida?
about 3 years ago, I woke up right before my birthday, and I've been working with trying to help fallen soldiers. And I've done that for quite a few years. And I had seen a need to take care of our homeless veterans and give them a facility to get all the resources they needed. Our veterans earn dignity through the service of our country. So I called my attorney friend, Jason Odom, and I said, hey, I want to start a nonprofit to help our veterans. And I said, I need to know how much it's going to cost me. And then I told him what I want to do. So what I'm trying to do is create and maintain a tiny house community for homeless veterans, not just so they get their dignity back, but also so they could integrate back into society and the workforce if they're able to. There are some veterans who are never physically or mentally going to be able to enter into the civilian world.
Yeah.
There's a huge statistics with military sexual trauma, PTSD. You know, some of these veterans were actually abused before they enter the military. And it's even, I was even told it was a question they ask when you're in MEPS, if you've ever been abused as a child. So we saw the need. I just decided that I wanted to do this. So we want to do a 125 acre facility. 100 of it will be housing and resources. And the other 25 will be a sustainable income. Ways to keep it without us having to go back out to the community to beg for money. Because you know that is a tendency with a lot of nonprofits. We can do so much and then we have to go back out to the community. We want to do it in a way where our veterans can make money for what they're learning in their entrepreneurship, what they want to do with their lives. Because sometimes when you start a business, I own a company, it's very hard to start a business and know what you're supposed to do step by step. You need this license, you need to do this, you need to pay these taxes, those kinds of things. So as a business owner, I know there's a lot of veterans who actually want to do that. They want to work for themselves. Mm-hmm. So we took it in a way that with these 125 acres, on the 100 that is housing, we want to do tiny houses, 12 tiny houses around a core house. So when I say a tiny house, I'm talking 160 square feet.
Oh my
So
gosh.
one veteran per house?
Imagine an octopus. In the center is the body, which will be the core house, which will have the kitchen, the laundry rooms, bathing, showers, living room, things like that. I always want to say, because of Florida codes right now, you can't have tiny houses. So we were going to make it kind of, if they don't allow us to do it where the houses are around it in a circle, then we would add hallways. But it would be just a tiny room, 160 square feet of bedroom. But you have to come to that core house to get everything you need. Only because isolation is not what these veterans need. So we want them to sleep in that house. In that tiny house, it's going to have a bed, a couch, a TV with, hopefully we're working on getting telehealth so that if a veteran feels that they want to talk to someone because of their mental health, they can just hit a button and it'll go directly to a counselor. We want them to come out of that bedroom for everything else. And we actually have partnered with Want Not, Waste Not in Clay County. They will be supplying us with food for not only our convenience store, which is free on the facility. You come in, you pick your food, and then you just take it to your tiny house and to your courthouse.
So do you have anybody living in these tiny houses yet, or is this still a process?
It's still, we're right now in the middle of the fundraising. We're working on the fundraising for the land right now is anywhere between 600,000 and 4.5 million.
How would a homeless veteran find out about you guys?
Well, we actually go out into the community.
Okay.
The year before last, we were at the Jacksonville Homeless Stand Down, which we found to be a check the box kind of event where they would say, hey, we're going to help you, but for 4 hours, we're going to give you dignity. Oh, and by tomorrow, you're going to have to have a resume and be able to get a job. If you have a facility from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., take care of your veterans.
Right.
Give them the dignity, give them what they need. Don't just check the box. Oh, look, we said we're going to do it and get the money, because they get a lot of money to do that. They get about $15,000. I don't know about you, but for $15,000, I could do a lot for our homeless veterans, not just check a few boxes off and move forward.
I agree.
So we saw the need that it's just not getting done. So we actually go out to community. We do feeding events. We also work with Cup of Love Ministries, Jason Calloway. He goes out and feeds the homeless every Wednesday. We actually know organizations that are helping right now. My goal is to get a kind of like a veterans community where the veterans can live there. They can do activities. We're working on things like metalworks, woodwork, a break room. So sometimes combat veterans and other veterans have PTSD and they just really want to break stuff, throw glass against the wall.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's very relieving. Trust me, when I get angry and I throw a plate, I feel so much better. So that's kind of the thought we're thinking. My only question was, who's cleaning it up? Is it me? And they're like, no, we'll take care. I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Well,
if
that's easy. You make the Air Force guy clean up.
Talk about this.
I mean, it sounds like a wonderful idea. And especially when you talk about the community, because I know that, veterans, they are used to having the community of their shipmates and their soldiers and having that on the outside, especially when they're going through something mentally that nobody else understands. I mean, even as a spouse, I would never understand that kind of stuff.
Well, thank you. I just feel, like you said, that camaraderie, that brotherhood is, the military is totally different than the civilian world, and civilians don't understand that. I only understand it because I've been so involved in it.
Well, I want to talk about that for a minute because, you have this nonprofit. I mean, it's great. I love the concept. And for this to work out, I want to be there when it opens. I mean, that's just amazing.
Well, we'd love you to come in and you could do a show out there.
That'd be so cool.
That would be cool.
There's so many things on the village for the PTSD. We're actually having a music studio so that veterans can record themselves, because there are some talented people in the military.
Well, I'm not one of them.
Well, we were also, talking about radio stuff and things like that to, the village having its own radio station, kind of like I always watched MASH and they kind of had their own little radio stuff so we want it just to be all about the veterans doing those things that help them.
Serena, are we going to Jacksonville to do a show?
Well, we're absolutely going to Jacksonville, and we can help these veterans and, get them started with once they get on their feet and they start to learn, how to get back into society and things like that, then we can help. Skill Mill can help them. So
if someone's listening right now and they're like, I want to donate money today, how do they do it?
They can go to our Facebook page and we have a donate button on there.
What's the Facebook page?
VVNEFL.
VV for Veteran Village, NE for Northeast, FL for Florida.
One of the things we're actually having on the village, so I told you it's 100 acres. In this core center, we're going to have all of the resources. So in Duval County, you have about 96 veteran service organizations. I'm supplying the land and the veterans. We're hoping to house 1,000 homeless veterans, as well as have affordable housing for all veterans who just want to come out there, live on the facility. Because when I say it's going to be a community, we have 5 acres of agriculture and beehives and animals. And we're going to have another 5 acres of trails and nature for the veterans to enjoy that as well as having, I don't know if you've ever heard of Flamingo RV Park. Well, they have this huge pond that's half beach, half kayaking and things like that. We're including all of that, and private dog parks for the veterans because, most veterans have service animals. It's literally going to be like a true community.
That is amazing. The more I hear about this, do you have to be single? Because I'm married. I'm not sure I can come down.
No. So we have several different spots on the facilities because I told you we have military sexual trauma with both men and women. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard the statistics, but they're saying 1 in 3 women have military sexual trauma and 1 in 100 men.
So I dealt at a high level with this, and I will tell you there's a lot of men who have it that just don't report it. I saw it day in and day out.
That's terrible.
I'm embarrassed.
Well, learning more and more about the military sexual trauma and things like that, my interaction with the military is speaking to their caseworkers. So I talked to a caseworker who happened to do homeless men. And the statistics they told me, 90% of homeless male veterans have either military sexual trauma, PTSD, or were raped as children. 90% of our homeless male veterans.
Wow.
And 70% of all female veterans have PTSD, military sexual trauma. And we try to remove that stigma because there seems to be a stigma with this as well as mental health. And there shouldn't be.
There's nothing to be ashamed of.
There's an article in the New York Times about 6 men tell their stories of sexual assault. I read that article and the stories. It took me back. I know our women have it, but according to the Pentagon, 38 military men are sexually assaulted every day. And I know the number for women, if you're talking 1/3 of our female veterans have military sexual trauma or PTSD.
You have to get the word out. You want people to listen. You want them to understand what goes on.
The hard things people don't want to talk about.
No, they don't.
And that's the biggest problem is they know it's happening, but they don't want to say anything because they don't want to have to do it.
I want to know how you got into this because this is not your only nonprofit that you.
Yeah, you said you only started this 3 years ago. So what happened before that got you into this?
Well, the one thing that got me first into loving the military is I'm Jewish.
Okay.
So without the World War II veteran, my people probably would not be. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. Hitler was pretty much going for 100% on us. And if it wasn't for the American soldier, then we wouldn't be here because without America, it wasn't going to end.
Right.
So that was my first step into loving the military. And then in 2005, Timothy J. Siemens, who is a stepbrother to me, was killed in Samarra, Iraq. And his Humvee was blown up. He wasn't even 21. Oh. So for several years, I did that nonprofit, and I still do that nonprofit, Florida Fallen Heroes, which is the Timothy J. Siemens Memorial Foundation. And we put monuments at high schools of fallen soldiers where they graduated so the young people would understand their freedom isn't free. In 2009, 2010, I started to see a lot more about veteran suicide and our veterans committing suicide because they're not getting the mental health they needed. They're living on the streets. And so I'll be honest, I saw several organizations who said, oh, well, we're going to build housing. We're going to help our homeless veterans. We're going to work on the PTSD and all these things. I waited 4 or 5 years. Nothing had started. I literally woke up on my birthday about 3 years ago, called my attorney friend who is I think he's a Navy veteran as well.
He must be smart then.
So Jason Odom, I called him and said, I want to start a nonprofit to help our homeless veterans. I need to know how much it's going to cost me. And he said, you just pay the government fee and I'll take care of the rest. That year, we started the Veterans Village of Northeast Florida. And the goal was, I couldn't honor the veterans who are committing suicide because of the Department of Defense has a listing on what a gold star is. To be a gold star, to be a purple inlay, because there are 2, you are killed in action. And to be a gold inlay, you were killed while in theater, which means you were in the military. But as a veteran, you don't get that. So I couldn't honor them with Florida Fallen Heroes. So I wanted to find a different way to honor our veterans who weren't getting what they needed from our government. And to do that, it was to get them the help they needed and to actually teach our veterans how to transition into civilian world, because as you know, the military doesn't give you certificates and you don't get a diploma.
No.
And your jobs are, you could have done the most extravagant job and it's nothing in the civilian world.
Not at all.
No, and that's why we started Skill Mill. I tell people, I got tired of seeing 19, 20, 22-year-old, and it was males. I was in the submarine force. There was no females then. But, they were risking their life 6 months ago, operating machinery that cost millions of dollars, dependable, all the qualities you want for someone to work for you. They had them all. And then they would get out and not be able to find a job. It amazed me.
So skilled. I mean, they're so skilled. Some of these mechanics and some of these people working on a submarine, that's a skill, but it's needed nowhere else.
That's what people say. They're like, oh, yeah, you're on a submarine. We don't have submarines in the civilian world. Well, guess what? You have diesel engines. If I can work on a submarine, I could probably work on a car.
It's exactly what my husband's going through at this exact moment. He was a mechanic on a submarine. He retires at the end of the month and he's trying to find a job. And that's what is translating his skills for every single interview he goes to, because he's not going back to work on a submarine. So
I actually
really
work with 2 women who can take jobs that military people have and translate them in the civilian world on their resumes. My goal is to end veteran homelessness by giving our veterans the transitioning things they need so they have the skills to enter the civilian world so they can work and have a real future. Right. And we want to do it in the way of the village because we want other veterans who have succeeded to come out and mentor.
I have a question though, that we normally try to, not get into political things on the show, and everyone has their own opinion. I want to know yours if you want to share. With all the work you do with veterans and the Blue Star, you talked about, the homelessness, and how do you feel when someone kneels for the national anthem?
I don't approve. The flag doesn't symbolize our police. It symbolizes the young men and women who died for the freedom that everyone seems to think comes from our Congress. That if it wasn't for people like yourself or Charlene, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have those freedoms. So when you see, I'm going to use the Jaguars going to England and kneeling for the national anthem, the flag that soldiers died under, and standing for, it's a flag. Our country isn't perfect, but it symbolizes the unity of all of us. Mm-hmm. People of all colors, all races, all creeds fought for that flag. Mm-hmm. So to me, if you have a problem with the police, then deal with that. But to kneel for our flag, you're a slap in the face.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I mean, this is a great show. We touched on a lot of things that people do not want to talk about.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you both for your service and what you do and continue to do. And I tell you, this is going to be a tough episode for some people to listen to, I think.
I think so too.
Well, thank you for having us. And I don't know if Charlene told you, but we are having a fundraiser April 30th. It's on our Facebook page, but we are having a night to remember, a masquerade ball, and 100% of the proceeds go towards the land of the Veterans Village.
And I'm going to say one more time, if any of our listeners would like to donate to Veterans Village, you can go to their Facebook page, which is VVNEFL, Veteran Village, Northeast Florida, but all the first letters.
Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So, and this week, me and Serena talk about a drink of the week. We're going to have our guests talk about it too. But first of all, I'm going to ask Serena, what was she drinking this week?
So this week I went with a Joel Gott Cabernet. I was like a classy broad.
I was going to say that sounds like that's too classy for me. I can't drink that.
It was delicious. We got it with Thai food takeout and it was so good. I could have drank the whole bottle by myself, but I did not. I was with my cousin and we shared.
Oh, you shared a bottle. How big was the bottle?
I mean, just a regular size bottle. So like what, you get like a glass and a half out of it or whatever.
Right. Well, I got to go back to Thai food. So on a scale of 1, I always got 1 to 10. What did you order? How hot?
Oh, I'm a 0. I never get
Zero.
I never get anything spicy because it's already spicy. So when I add any spice to it, I'm like runny nose and all that jazz. I can only eat spicy food when I'm pregnant, and I am not pregnant.
So, hey, if you're listening out there and you hear Serena start talking about spicy food, you know what's up.
Yeah.
Well, at least Space Dust, right? Have you ever heard of Space Dust IPA?
I have, yes.
I like it, but I don't forget. I'm just kind of like, I'm going to have some. It's 8.2%. It's way strong. And I know that when I start drinking it, but I still drink it like it's Bud Light. So you drink 5 or 6 of those and you're like, oh,
Lit. You're lit.
you're like, tomorrow's going to suck. But you know what? I still love it. It's still delicious. So guests, tell us what you're drinking.
My favorite is old fashions.
Oh,
With
yeah.
a good bourbon, especially when they make it right with the excellent bitters and the orange and
Do you put cinnamon in yours or just orange and bitters?
simple syrup with bitters. It has to have bitters, otherwise it's just not right.
Go ahead.
And I'm drinking a green tea.
Just green tea? Yeah, right.
Jameson with peach schnapps, some sour and some Sprite. And they're really good as a shot or a drink.
It's called green tea shot or a green tea drink.
Okay.
Yeah, I use
Try it out.
an ounce of Jameson, an ounce of peach schnapps, an ounce of sour, and then a splash of Sprite.
Wait a minute. It sounds like somebody was a bartender.
I was. That's how I paid for college. I actually bartend every week at American Legion Post to help them out.
Oh, that's amazing. They do great work at the American Legion. That's a whole nother show. I'm involved with them now, and what a great organization.
Didn't you and I go to the American Legion to have a drink one night in Hawaii?
Serena, I'm sure we went to the American Legion to have a drink or two in Hawaii.
I think so too.
All right. Thank you, girls. Man, Serena, it was great having them on the show, wasn't it?
Yeah, fun girls. I like talking to them.
Oh, they're doing a lot of great things. And I say real things because we all know there's a lot of nonprofits out there who are in it for the wrong reason.
Yeah. I think that what her idea, Susan's idea, is amazing. Like the community aspect of it is amazing because I know that there are veteran tiny houses, things like that all over the nation, which is great. And I mean, it's wonderful for veterans to be able to find themselves in one of those situations where they need a place to live. But with her idea with the village in the community, that's like one step above, which I think is great.
Where you live, there's a tiny, what is it, tiny house village or? Yeah,
it's a tiny house village for veterans. I can't give much detail about it because I don't know a lot about it, but I do know that they have like a strip where it's a bunch of tiny houses for veterans to get back on their feet.
That is amazing. You know, the one in Jacksonville sounds like it's going to be, I may have to tell Regina, I got options now, girl.
Yeah. Bye, girl.
I'm going to Jacksonville. I want to tell you a funny story. They said fingerprints, right? I can understand knowing where people are and all that stuff, but I was at Sam's Club yesterday. I'm on a conference call while I'm shopping. You know, of course, you got to get everything done.
Multitasking.
Yeah. And I got the little app where I just scan and go. I don't have to deal with those people, standing in line or anything. So
yeah,
I go outside. I got one earphone in. I got this guy talking to me. I'm in my wife's Tesla and he said something about Rip Van Winkle. And I was like, what? Like I'm on mute, I feel like I have to talk to the guy. It'd be rude not to. And he's like, oh, the technology in these cars. I feel like I fell asleep one day and I woke up and technology had came this far. He just said a few words and he turned around. It was kind of weird, but that's okay. And then this lady says, hey, remember, I'm on a call. I'm trying to listen on one side. And she says, how do you open them doors? And on a Tesla, the doors are flat, the handles, but basically you just push it in on one side and it comes out. But she said, do you use your fingerprints? And I told my wife, I'm a smart ass. I can't help it. It almost came out. I'm like facial recognition. When I get close to the car, it'll open for me. And I said, well, and I was like, no. I said, well, you just push the handle right here. I felt like I wasted a great opportunity because she would have been telling people about facial recognition for days
but you know what? It's not even that far-fetched. I mean, I don't know everything about Teslas, but if you would have told me it was facial recognition, I would have freaking believed you.
Wasted opportunity. I should have started spreading the word. Tesla, if you're listening, maybe facial recognition would work better because sometimes that Bluetooth just doesn't want to open my door right.
Hear it today, Michael Hinkle. You need to trademark that stuff.
That's right. Elon, get it done.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Diapers and Deployments brought to you by Skill Mill.
Go to skillmill.com to check out our blog and create an account. You can also find us on social media. Let us help you find your next career.
Don't forget, that's skill with 2 L's and mill with 1.
Until next time.